Today we're going to do Lesson 4 of Writing a Getting to Know You letter. Today we are going to edit our letter. So there's a couple things you're going to need. One thing you're going to need is the editing checklist. Let's take a look at the editing checklist before we begin. So the first thing we're going to look is to make sure that our letter that the date has a comma between the day and the year, and that the month is capital. The second thing we're going to look is that for the greeting starts with a capital and ends with a comma, and the closing starts with a capital and ends with a comma. Number 3, we're going to make sure each sentence starts with a capital and ends with the correct end mark. And then number 4, we're going to make sure each sentence makes sense. So let's get started. So before we edit your letter, we're going to take a look and edit a sample letter together. So again, you need your editing checklist, and you also need this sample letter. Please correct the letter with me. So first, let's read it. It says September 28, 2017. Dear classmate, my name is Jordan. I am 7. I like to do experiments. I like to invent things. You won't believe how long I can hold my breath. Your pal, Jordan Thomas. So let's use our checklist to check this letter. So first we're going to look at the date. We're going to make sure that the date has a comma between the day and the year. So here's the day, and here's the year. And we do have a comma, so that's correct. We're also going to make sure that the month is capital. So September does have a capital letter, so that is also correct. So we're going to put a check in the box. Now let's look at number 2. We have to make sure the greeting starts with a capital and ends with a comma. So here's my greeting. The greeting starts with a capital and it ends in a comma. And then we've got to do the same for the closing. Make sure the closing starts with a capital and ends with a comma. So here's our closing, here's my capital, and here's my comma. So those two parts are correct also. So I'm going to put a check in the box. Now let's look at number 3. Each sentence starts with a capital and ends with the correct end mark. So now we got to look at the body. We're going to look at each sentence. So here's my first sentence. It starts with a capital. My name is Jordan, and it ends with a period. Now let's look at our next sentence. I am 7. So here's my capital, but we're missing our period at the end of this sentence. So I'm going to put my period in. Let's look at our next sentence. I like to do experiments. So we started with a capital, and here's our period. Our next sentence, I like to invent things. Started with a capital, and ended with a period. And our last sentence, you won't believe how long I can hold my breath. Here, you is not capitalized. So I'm going to cross out the Y, and I'm going to put a capital Y above it for the beginning. And then I'm going to look at this end mark. This sentence isn't asking a question. It's actually telling something interesting about the person. So this is the wrong end mark. So I'm going to cross out the question mark. And I think since this is such an interesting fact, that the person is probably excited that he's telling about it. So I'm going to put an exclamation point on the end. So now we've checked over all of our sentences and we've made corrections. So now I'm going to check off number 3. The last one. Each sentence makes sense. Well, now that I've read through it and fixed my punctuation and my capitals, each sentence does make sense. I haven't left out any words and I haven't repeated any. So I'm going to put a check mark for number 4 as well. So that is how you use your checklist to edit a letter. Now you are going to edit your own letter using your checklist. You may go back and look at how we edited this one to help you. You may also ask a partner for help after you are finished doing it once yourself. Take your time and read it over carefully. Good luck!